behind the music. You will be inspired to think higher, realize your gift. Join the music and the strategy now. Turn this up and through your speakers. It's the music.
And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you all are. You are listening to the Muses Behind the Music. I am your host, Michelle Fowlin, and it is definitely great to have you all with me. Today is I was thinking about the word bittersweet, and it's not really bitter because I know so many other awesome things are about to come. But today is the last episode of season number 1, and I'm just feeling some kind of like excited. It was it. I accomplished it, and we did this thing. And so kudos to me. Thank you, Debbie. That's our guest, Debbie Baxter, that's here with us today. Hey, Patrick D. McCoy, so good to have you. And whoever else, because sometimes I can't see everybody's names on there, but thank you so much for joining us. So listen, in the moment of thinking about all of these things that's happening, I would love for you all to continue to support the Muses Behind the Music. Next season is going to be as hot, if not hotter, than this season was with our dynamic guests who are coming on. There's going to be a change of scenery that's happening for the Muses Behind the Music. I'm not going to say anything. I just need you to pay attention and watch. Second season will start September 7th. September 7th, we're moving our day. I'm going to keep announcing it. We're moving our day to Tuesdays. So you can find us forever living on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to it. But for you to get the look and the feel of what we're doing, here we are live on Facebook and live on YouTube. So I appreciate that. Today's guest, listen, I have to tell you all the backdrop to how Debbie Baxter and I met one another. So I'm sitting in a restaurant with a girlfriend of mine. This is a few years back. Debbie, how long ago was it?
It was 3 years ago.
Okay, wow. Because, when COVID hit, my brain did like everything. Just seems forever ago. So we're in this restaurant and it's crowded and I don't even remember the restaurant. It's irrelevant what the restaurant we were eating at. And a spot cleared next to us, the seat cleared, and she was with a friend of hers. And so my girlfriend and I just said, hey, come on over and sit down. Boom. Get into lots of conversation, find out she's this artist, start talking about her dynamic project called the Nest Project. And, I'm ready to get into it because I'm a firm believer about the arts and the power, the healing power that the arts has for all of us. And Lord knows that with the things that are going on in this world today, we need things that will continue to bring us peace of mind, to revitalize our souls, to give us a sense of hope. And I know that the arts does this, all mediums of the art. So let me talk to you all for a moment about the guest, Debbie. And again, she is a photographer who created the Nest Project and an author of The Nest. Debbie, today is the day. The Nest.
Day.
That's so awesome. I saw that on IG. And when I say today is the day, I'm talking about her book. So before I continue on with who you are and just the awesomeness of who you are, tell us about this book that's coming out, because today is the day.
Yes. So yes, today is the day. And I spent the last 9 months working on my book, and it's called Nest. And what it is, it's a compilation of my work that I produced over the last 4 to 5 years with what was called the Nest Project.
Mhm.
And the Nest is about 200 pages. It's a coffee table book, and it's got photographs, and it's got narratives, and it's got quotes, and just beautiful stories of people that came and participated in my project.
I love that. I love
Yes,
it, and I'm
it's
excited.
hot off the presses today.
Yeah.
It just landed through the printer, so that's being shipped from Indonesia to my house, and
We're
it
going
will be
to talk
ready.
about the Indonesia journey and
Yeah.
how that happened, because people are going to be like, hold on a second. Lord knows we got a whole lot of different press companies and, editors and stuff who would do your book here, but we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
So this project of hers was inspired by her own personal journey on healing from a challenging childhood. And it says the body of work focuses on joy, triumph, pain, and sadness of real people from all walks of life in their most vulnerable state. I mean, I need to show the people, those of you who are going to listen in, y'all don't, and you won't get the opportunity to see this unless you purchase the book, and you need to purchase the book. But I want our audience who is with us right now to just get an idea of what your book is all about. And you can always go to her website as well and check it out there. Her website, www.debbiebaxter.com. But let's take a look at just a couple of things here. I mean, this is just awesome. And yes, there are nudies, y'all. We came into this world without clothes on. Hello. We're gonna leave. Well, we're gonna leave with clothes on, but you understand what I'm saying. Let me ask you a question, Debbie. When we're seeing all these pictures, and you made this nest.
Yeah, so what I do, what the Nest Project is that I go and I gather all natural materials and I build big human-sized birds' nests. And then once the nest is built, then I invite people to come and get into the nest.
And
And then
I'm sorry.
that process then includes not only them coming and stripping down their clothes and getting their portrait done in the nest, but it also involves a stripping down of their vulnerability as well. So I'll ask them what vulnerable side of themselves are they bringing to the nest experience? What part of themselves are they willing to get in and be bare with
Mm,
and hold inside of a nest? And so with that process, that's what the project is.
mhm.
And through that, then that's the process that I used for myself originally, because I did this project starting with myself. And once I did it, I realized that I wanted to share it with others, and B, I also wanted to know that at the time I felt like I wanted to know that I wasn't alone in what I had experienced.
Yeah.
And I wanted other people to know that they weren't alone as well. And so I just started offering it to other people. And through the course of about 4 years, I photographed about 400 different people
Wow.
curled up in these handmade nests, and I would make them in different places. I would go to different locations, and sometimes I would be hosted by people, or sometimes I would just pick a place and be like, all right, well, this is where I'm going to build a nest this weekend. And then I would either invite people, or people would find out about it and reach out and want to come.
Mhm.
I think that the idea of being held in a nest it was very captivating for people, and they were very curious about it, and it felt very comforting.
Mhm.
And then with the questions then that I asked, it just, it fueled a lot of, it was very provocative. Like it fueled a lot of inquiry and reflection on times when of ways that people comforted their vulnerabilities or shared those vulnerabilities. And it opened up a lot of, I would say it opened up a lot of wounds around childhood. So people shared a lot of wounds that they had experienced, or times that they did not feel comforted in their vulnerability. And so I would just, I collected these photographs and I collected quotes from people, and then I would interview people and collect those interviews.
Wow.
Once everything was together, then I crafted these narratives of people. So I have their stories of what people have gone through.
So for you, when you were first doing this, how did you come up with a nest? Like, why use the bird's nest? Because that's what it looks like. What drew you to that specific item that would have captivated or allowed you to think that this embodied the idea of healing?
Originally, like I said, it was really just an inspiration that came to me, and I was just in the backyard, and I was kind of wrangling with we all go through moments where we're wrangling with things, emotional things. And it was a time where I felt like, oh, I feel like I'm done wrangling with this, like I feel like I'm done wrangling with the same story that was on repeat in my head about things from my childhood. And it mostly consisted, my mother was diagnosed way before I was born, and she was bipolar. And so by the time I was born, she just couldn't, she wasn't there when I was a baby. She actually went straight into the mental ward, and then I went home with my father. And I think it just left this wound for me to heal of, I don't like to use the word abandonment, but it felt like I had that wound of like, I felt like I kind of always had this repeated story of like, oh, I wanted my mom to be there. Like I wanted her there. I wanted to feel like I was held by her. I wanted that nurturing and I wanted that care, and I couldn't let go of it. And so the nest was about me just giving myself that. The nest was about using art, using my hands to build myself a safe, loving home. Basically, like it was the symbolism of that. And it's a remarkable feeling to give yourself what you have longed for.
Yeah. Wow. There is a song. Sorry, there's echo. I don't even know what to do with it. But there's a song that is a spiritual called "Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child."
Yeah.
And it's very hard to you really have to go into another space of yourself if you've never experienced anything like that. Because then the lyrics, it's unidentifiable with the lyrics. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. But then you really can take something like in your experiences, or even other experiences that we go through, and try to captivate the depth of that. I'm saying to you the other day when we were in conversation, we all have scars from childhood. We all need to jump into, psychologists always talk about, the brain, or the child, the human being. We formulate our personalities by time we hit age 5. And so that means that for all of the experiences that we go through from birth until age 5 are so impactful, from 5 all the way until however long we live. And then we are really, truly affected by that. And we need some deep healing in this, in that time to just, heal the scars that had happened from those times on. This is why I love your project so much. Do we have to get naked to get inside the nest?
No, well, of course you don't have to get naked to get into the nest. Nobody has to get naked. I photograph people naked because that was the expression. That's the expression I want. but if I'm going to photograph someone, I usually say, yeah, because that's the expression I'm looking for. I'm looking for that raw vulnerability. However, I've put nests places where people can actually experience a nest and not have to get photographed.
Right.
Because that's a whole, there's so many layers to my project. Like there's the actual nest and actually having that experience of curling up and allowing yourself to be in the nest and doing the writing and reflecting on what you're bringing to this nest experience. And that's a whole visceral thing. And then of course getting naked and being photographed, that's a different level of it. And then also taking your photograph and saying, hey, I'm going to sign a model release form and I'm going to let you put it out in the world. That is a whole other layer to it. So there's many ways that people can connect to the nest project. You certainly don't have to get naked. I have built I've built nests like at the Oregon Zoo, and I've built a nest in a community garden that people can experience and enjoy and it not look so raw and provocative.
Well, how long does it take to build one of these things?
It depends. It depends on, sometimes I can throw them together in a day. The first one I built, it took me and my son built my first nest in my backyard, and it only took us a few hours.
Okay.
Sometimes it can take me a few days because depending on where it's going to go and how many people they're going to get in it and how it's going to be used. Now I've gotten a little bit more savvy with the way that I build them, and I weld a base. I've learned how to weld, and so I'll weld a base, and then I will, weave and wrap and pull together vines and twigs and everything natural and put that together, and that can take, several days.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm thinking, this isn't something that, you can just have a stock of, like I got 10 nests sitting in my backyard, and I
My
think
husband would kill me.
I guess so. Be like, yo, Debbie, when we gonna get these nests on up out of here? I mean, it would be a lot, but so tell me about the journey. You start writing this book, and I don't necessarily mean like the writing of it, because I'm sure that there are words in it, as you're saying, you're telling the stories of others, but the compilation is really photographically based. How did you get this stuff in Indonesia? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, that goes back to 2019, in the fall of 2019. I had kind of gotten as far as I was going to go with the body of work. I had a show in New York. I had a show in Portland. I started to show the body of work. I wasn't in collecting anymore. I was in, it's time to produce. It's time to go to show, and it's time to produce whatever was going to be the outcome from it. And I had been writing grants, and I wrote a grant through an organization here in Portland, Oregon, called the Regional Arts and Council Committee. And I got awarded a grant to put on a show in Portland. But before I knew I got the grant, I just hustled and worked and raised the money to put my show on anyway. And then I got a double dose and I got this grant. So I used the grant to put towards going to Bali, Indonesia, and putting together the book. And I landed in Bali on January 18th. Right after I got there, in a gallery in Ubud asked if I would install a nest and photographs into their gallery. And so I knew I needed to push my flight back. I pushed my flight back. And in the meantime, COVID hit, my flight got canceled. I was sick, the borders got closed, and I couldn't get out. So I stayed put and worked on my book.
Yo, first of all, you are a trooper, because I feel like somebody needs to get me on up out of here. I need to get home, book or no book. And you have kids.
Yeah. I have two boys. I have an 18 and 10-year-old.
Yeah. So how were they dealing with that? How are you dealing with that? I mean, I get the idea that, as an artist, we're always thinking we need to do what we need to do. This is a little different of a situation where it's like, it's an indefinite, how long will I be stuck in this country that I don't know people, I don't know the language. So how are you dealing with that? That's a whole other healing process, I would think, as well.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit extreme. Because when I first, heard of the news and then knew that I was going to be there for a while, I really didn't think COVID was going to last that long.
Mhm.
I just didn't. I thought that I would be there maybe a couple months, and that was going to be okay with me, and that was also going to be okay with my family. They understood that I was safe, and I was in a place where I was going to be okay.
Right.
But I think out of everybody, my oldest child was probably the most worried about me.
Mm.
Um, and I definitely I went through times where I was like, okay, I'm alone for the first time in my life. I hadn't been alone before. And I think that created a better, as hard as it was, and the pain of the separation between me and my family, as hard as it was, those feelings and those emotions really went into the book. And I don't think that I think that there's something to be said about your environment and also what you're going through emotionally when you're producing a body of work and you're putting together, in my case, a book, or you're putting together an album. What are you going through on the inside, and how is that being felt with every word and photograph and every thread of your story? How is that being felt and channeled through in the work that you're producing? So
Mhm.
I don't think my book would have been the same, obviously, if I had gotten out and come back to America. And I ended up being stuck there. Well, I ended up, the borders did end up opening, but by the time they opened, I was so deep in the process. Like,
Yeah.
I was so deep in the art, and I was so deep in going over every word, that I just felt like there was no way I could leave it at that point.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't leave the emotion. I couldn't leave the bubble that I had put myself in. And so I ended up being there for a year and a half. And that, look, I just got back to America. I've been back for a few weeks now. And, I went through all kinds of stuff when I was in Indonesia. But at the same time, I came out with a finished product. At the end, I ran a Kickstarter campaign, a pre-order campaign, and was able to raise the money to get the book printed and, the graphic design. We are in COVID times, so I was barely working, barely scraping by, and producing
Right.
a body of work. And in the end, the reason why we're celebrating at the beginning of this show is that my books are on their way here. And at the end, I was looking for a printer everywhere, and I looked all over America. I looked in Europe because I was like, where do I get this thing printed? And everybody kept saying Indonesia, but there was a language barrier, and how did I know that they were going to be producing like that the pages were going to look good? But in the end, I found an amazing printer in Jakarta. So I moved off the island of Bali, and I moved to Jakarta for the last month and oversaw the printing of the book.
Wow. I think we're going to have to use a different word other than stuck. I'm a firm believer that everything has its purpose, that nothing is a coinky dink.
Yeah.
No, there's intention in everything that the creator sets forth. We might not see it in the moment, hindsight sometimes. And, like, this is definitely, to me, in my opinion, as I look, Like this was ordained. You didn't know, but this was ordained. And for this healing project to go forth and do the work that is to come, that you don't even know about, that the rest of us don't even know what's going to happen through it. You needed to be in that space that you were in. And it was a sacrifice. You know, the sacrifice of being away from your family and, you know, just being in that comfort space, your own home and, you know, your own customs and how you do things. But sometimes that drive, that uncomfortable space that we get ourselves in, it drives us into another dimension. That's what I'm hearing that you are saying about the project in itself. So when can we expect to receive it in the States? They're shipping it out.
They're shipping it out, and I'll have it in a week. It'll be on my doorstep in 7 days. Yeah, I have a sample copy right here. This is the sample copy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
I am so looking forward to this, and this being in the center of my coffee table.
Yeah.
As well, like for real. So, you know, it's such a hard thing being in the arts at times. It's challenging, and I don't mean just the financial end of it, because, you know, that's always the first thing people love to say to us, you know, there's no stability in it, or, you know, you're always scraping on the ends. But it's hard being a woman in certain aspects of the field. Here you are, a mother, a wife, and if you don't have, you know, the support behind you at home, it makes the job even more difficult. So thank God for the support that you have behind you. So you're there in Indonesia, and what I'm wondering about is how they perceived you and what you were doing. And as this woman by yourself, like, do you have management team or anything like that? Like, you know, it's all you, right?
It's all me. I mean, I, you know, for this particular project, I pulled together a team for myself. I knew I was going to need a team. I had an editor that I worked closely with. His name's Jamel Hall. He's from Jamaica, and I met him on the island of Bali.
You'll never go wrong with a fellow Jamaican. Never, never, never.
He's amazing. And I can't wait to work with him on another project. But we just happened to meet, and he was an editor, and I needed an editor. And I'm like, okay, you're on my team. I'm here on Bali, so you are too. Let's do this. So Jamel was an amazing help for me. I also had a graphic designer from Canada named Carmen, and she was an amazing person to have on my team too. And then I hired a project manager who was from Indonesia that is now still helping me. And his name is Raz Muhammad, and he's still helping me get the book done and sent to me. So I have a team. I have to have a team. Yeah. As far as being a woman, I've always been a woman, so I don't know what it's like to be a man. I really like being a woman.
Right, and don't want to be a man.
Don't even want to. But I can see, I think the thing that most comes up about being a woman is that I don't know. I don't know why I want to say this, but I feel that being a female artist, or just being a female in general, you know, the being away from my family, I did get a lot of flack from being away from so long from my kids, because, you know, I think it really brought up a lot of stuff for other women who would be like, oh, I could never do that. Like, I could never be away from my children and sacrifice and do something for myself. And I really want to just touch on that and say, yes, you can, you know, like yes, you can be a mother, and you can have healthy relationships, and, you know, you can do all that and still be an artist and an entrepreneur, or whatever you need to do. Like, you can still do something. I just remember talking to my 18-year-old about it, because one of my friends had reached out and said, you got to come home. You got to let this go and just come home. And I was like, what do you think about this, to my older boy? And he's like, Mom, keep going. Like, keep going. You're sacrificing. You got to go. You got to do it. You got to go to the end. And it was just so fun to hear that from my boys, because my boys and I we know where we're at, and we know our bond. And so I would say that I think it's, maybe I kind of went down the road of the mothering, because it is a different, there's one thing to be a woman and an artist, and then there's another energy to be a mother. That takes it to another level, because you are caring for other people, and to pull off art sometimes takes being in your own bubble, like to really make art and to make it from those depths of ourselves. You got to go into those depths, and sometimes it's not always convenient then to have mouths to feed because it's not just you. Like, you can't just go into a cave for, however long. But this was an opportunity for me to give myself that cave.
Yeah, that's awesome. That resonated with me greatly. You said it's not convenient. It's not convenient, I think, too, for the idealisms that we have about roles. So it's like, the man could go and he could have been stuck in Indonesia, and it would have been wonderful. He would have been, kudos to him for doing the work and building his family, and he's out here, he's stuck, and for us, we get slaughtered by that, because we've been cultured to be in very particular roles and to play those roles. And so again, to me, it goes back to you have to have the support line of your family that says, I understand that my wife is an artist. I understand my mother is an artist. And it's like being an author. You need those spaces that you can move away from whatever is going on, so that you can write, that you can pour into that. Any kind of artistry requires that. So, I mean, kudos to you. You're a shero to me, sis, for getting out there and doing your thing, and just knowing I know the feeling of having your kids be like, no, do it. Continue on this path. You've got our support. And I'm hoping that the other women around in community, and the women who would be watching this, would know that you are empowered to do what you've been called to do. And you can make these sacrifices. And as long as you've got some solid folk who are in your corner to help you in the other mothering or fathering. How about that? Let them be fathering.
Yeah. I mean, really, it was such an opportunity. I mean, obviously I know that we had spoken about, things that are going on with my relationship, but at the same time, like, it allowed my partner this enormous opportunity to father in a way that he had never had the opportunity to. And that gave him major empowerment in how he handled the home and how he handled the finances. And he was able to help me and support me in ways. And
absolutely. And us as women, I think naturally what happens too, it's like, when we have our kids and they're first born, the men in our minds, they can't do anything right, as if we've done it before. It's just a part of our maternal instincts, and they don't hold the baby right, they don't feed the baby, and sometimes we don't give them the opportunity to be the father, and so they naturally pull away from the job that they want to try to do, but there's so much critique with us. And here you had no option but to have your hands off of the situation and allow him to do and be and explore and grow into the role that was already cast on him.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
And I was able to create a body of work that will be a part of me and forever.
Yeah. So where do you want to go? Where do you hope that this book will go? What are your dreams for it?
You know, I just wanted to get it into as many hands as possible. And at the same time, like I just want to keep expressing myself and keep healing myself and others in whatever capacity that happens.
Yeah.
Um, that I think I don't know that I feel like being in Indonesia and going through this book process has really humbled me in a way that I don't feel like I almost don't have goals anymore. It's
Mm,
just more of, you know what, I just want to make art. I just want to make art and continue to share my art. I just want to continue to heal my heart. I want to continue to make art that inspires other people. Um, so I'm, like I said, I'm just so completely humbled that I had this opportunity. I'm so completely humbled that 400 different people decided to
yeah.
trust me.
Yeah.
And it was just a beautiful process. And I went through so much of my own journey and my own healing while creating this body of work that I'm not the same.
Yeah.
And I think that I touched people's lives by this particular art project that I made, not only with the people that participated, but then the people that get to see it. And that's really all I need.
What's a story that you've experienced in this project that has resonated with you?
I
I'm
mean,
sure there are many.
there's so many. There's so many. I think that, of course, I took it to New York City. I took it to New York City, and the person that was my assistant and manager of that project, he was from Brooklyn, New York, and his name was Fred, and had just retired, and he was really hesitant about this project in the way that he just was like, I'm hesitant about the nudity. I'm hesitant about what this is. And in the end, he was the last person that participated and got into the nest at the very end. And I was so unbelievably like in shock of his courage because I knew how much resistance he had. And I didn't know what he was bringing to the experience. But afterwards, I found out that he was bringing this story of his daughter, his adopted daughter, getting shot
Oh,
in her teenage years, and how he hadn't had time to he hadn't had time to open that box yet. He had just gone right into work and it was just so busied himself, and then he retired, and he used this opportunity to go back into this healing space and into this nest later in his life and say, it's still raw, but I have unfinished business to tend to.
yeah.
Um, so it's like different moments like that. Or Cody from Seattle, like she's in the book, and she talks about bringing her 9-year-old self, like bringing that child, like that 9-year-old that had had a sense at that time that the things that were happening to her weren't right.
Yeah.
Or there's Ati, she's from Chile, and she talks about her time and her abuse from childhood while she was living in the Hare Krishna community. Or there's Willie from DC who got into the nest because he just really wanted to, and he had just lost his mom, and he knew that his mom would really want him to do something like that.
Mhm.
It's just the book, and what the project was a beautiful thread of just different people from America that came together just to share themselves in a really vulnerable way. And you really get a look, and I got a look at, wow, people are amazing. people are amazing, and I would never want to not share my vulnerabilities anymore, and I would never not want to know and be able to be there for someone else and theirs. And I think that
So
that's
much. Yeah, no, I'm so with you. There's so much resilience that people have. I don't know if they even realize it, because sometimes we have a tendency to just speak and live in the negative instead of recognizing the power that is taking us through still.
yeah.
That movement, the higher source. I call that source God. And that's what I love about stories like this. Do you remember when I met you, I told you about my brother?
Yeah,
Or-
Michael,
yes.
Mikey.
Yes. And yes, my yes. LOL. He's gonna love that you done called him Mikey. Because he's got everybody saying it.
Hi, Mikey. I have a brother named Mikey too.
Debbie, he's gonna just love that. So he was on the podcast, and I wanted you all to meet because I felt that your stories in how you brought your art to the world were so similar. You use different mediums, but they have such similar reflections, and I just love that. And I would love to see the two of you, if you could ever, I don't know how it would work, but I would love to see it, the creative energy, like, doing a collaboration, a partnership in this. It's just so dynamic to me. And I'm just always, I don't know why, maybe it's always because I'm thinking I always want to live in a space of healing. I don't want to hold. I want to be able to release and to be my freest self. And the freer that I am, the more that I'm able to express and to live joyously and to be always in this space of complete happiness and complete joy, versus just this momentary thing. And that's what I love about your project. You haven't had anybody who's like, hey, can you make me a nest, like, and like around for my necklace or something like that? I mean, like cute little nest gifts.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, totally. Well, I am working on my products.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm working on my product line. I'm starting with, I have a workbook and journal that's like kind of going with the book. So you'll be able to get a book, but then you'll also be able to get this healing workbook and journal if you would like one of those.
The answer is yes.
Okay. Who doesn't? Everyone needs the next workbook and journal.
I love that. I love that.
And then I also have a product called the Nest Vest. It's a little number that I picked up in Indonesia, and it's the cutest little vest you'll ever see. I wish I had one on right now.
Okay. Does it smell you or something? It makes you feel nice and cozy or something?
You'll see. I'll have to show it to you.
Okay.
I wish I had one on right now. They're just cute vests that I wear all the time. And so I was like, this is a Debbie Baxter right here. I'm going to call it the Nest Vest.
This is a Debbie Baxter. I love it. You should just call it, it's a Debbie Baxter.
This is a Debbie Baxter.
It sounds cool. I like that.
Yeah. It's just, it's a little fluff piece. It's a little additional fluff piece, You gotta look the part when you got the book in the hand and you got the Debbie Baxter vest on, and then you're writing in your journal. So
you better believe it. Have it all. What would you
get one of everything?
What'd you say?
You get one of everything. I'll send you one of everything.
Okay, and I'm gonna hold you to it, and I thank you. What would you share with an aspiring photographer, artist in any area, especially to young girls who look at you and they're like, this is awesome. I can't tell you how often, because I'm an educator, I run across the students who really, really, not only are they gifted and talented, they want this thing so badly, but because there are other things that don't encourage or support it, they venture into different areas and become unhappy in it until they find themselves back. But young girls, it thrills me when they can see us and
Yeah.
say, oh my God, they're successful at what they do. And I want to do that. But sometimes they might not know, or the experiences, they haven't talked to others who are in the field to, say, beware of this or consider this. What would you share with somebody?
I feel like someone shared this with me. A very dear friend of mine shared this with me because obviously the process of putting together a book and the process of going through what I went through over a significant amount of time to really birth this project into the world, there was challenging moments. There
Mm-hmm.
were challenging financial moments, emotional moments, spiritual moments, physical moments. And someone said to me, and I will never forget it, don't abandon the process.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever abandon the process, because you're going to have hard moments. You really are. That's just it. That is life. You're going to have hard moments. And sure, you could choose the easy way, but you're still going to run up against hard moments. And so you may as well keep going for what you believe in and what your values are, what your dreams are, because why not? I mean, that's
Right.
what we're here for. We're here to live out our, like you said, like our freest selves. And the quickest way to do that is through art. The quickest way to move energy and the quickest way to heal and transform is through the making of the creation, being the
Yeah.
creator.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just don't abandon the process. I love that you say about the young girls, because I will say that I must have had, a handful of teenage girls reach
Mm.
out to me and say, I'm so inspired by what you're doing. I'm so inspired by what you're doing. Like, how are you doing what you're doing? And I would just say, just keep going. Like, just keep creating, just keep making.
Yeah.
And
Keep.
I mean, I know that my struggle for a long time was what will my project be like. I really wanted a breakout project. Like, I really wanted to like find a project. And when I stopped looking, it just came.
Oh,
And I was so inspired that I was like, I got to build nests. I can't stop building nests. Like, I have to do this. Like, it just became like almost this amazing inspired obsession.
mm-hmm. Yeah, when I stopped
And
looking, it just came. Oh, that's so great. That's so
yeah.
great. I think oftentimes we like to tell women that about, getting in relationships with men. That's the big word. Just
Or having a baby, or the perfect job, or the perfect body. When you actually stop trying to force something, like, that's the feminine way. When you stop trying to force and you just ride the waves, you ride the contractions, you ride the
I
the,
love
the,
it.
the growing belly, like, you ride this process and you're just in this beautiful unfolding process, then the blossom is
Yeah. Yeah.
divine.
I love that. Ride the contractions. And so for any of the women who've never had children, I know that that's a hard concept to understand, but if you've had a toothache, that's probably the closest pain to the contraction that there is. But knowing that you are about to bring forth, you are about to birth forth something new, life, energy, positivity, love, all of those things, healing through your artwork. That is what makes the journey of not stopping in the process glorious, absolutely glorious. And so I'm glad that you didn't stop the process. I'm glad that your book is coming forth again. For those of you who want to follow Debbie Baxter, go on ahead and check her website out. You have more information on there. The website is gorgeous, by the way, sis.
Thank you.
Beautiful website. www.debbiebaxter, and you'll get all of the wonderful information. You can order your book. Is there a link on that? I don't want to speak out of terms.
Yeah, there's a shop on my website. So if you do debbiebaxter.com and then /shop you'll go right to my shop and you can order the book.
Beautiful. Get your book. Follow this beautiful woman as she's on her journey and also taking us on the journey, a part of a healing journey that I believe we all need in some way, shape, or form. Debbie, thank you for being with us. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the fact that we met one another and we didn't know that this was going to happen. We had no idea, but the Creator always has the bigger picture. So we just continue to listen to the Creator's directions and follow through. To those of you who were listening in, thank you so very much. I'm excited once again about what season 2 is going to bring for us here at the Muses Behind the Music. You are all muses. You're inspiring somebody, whether you're in the arts or not. People are looking at you. They're watching your life and they're wanting to emulate it. So live well, live good, live in peace with one another and in love. And until we see each other again, blessed be. Peace.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.